Okay, so here we are. We're setting the 3-point, which is our quick hitch. And as you can see, as I move those handles down, it locks the bottom, and they're spring loaded. So when you back up the center that goes to the top link, you want to back it up and you want to line it up to your top pin here on the equipment. That's the important part. And so when you line up the center and you back up, all you have to do is really focus on that center. And then once that hook is in position, you lift it up and the rest of the unit is all ready to go and it connects super easy. Then we're going to connect our hydraulics, our remote hydraulics. This is to our planter, and so the hydraulics actually go to the vacuum pump. So the vacuum pump for the unit is hydraulically controlled, as we use the remote hydraulics from the tractor to do so. If there's excess amount of hydraulic pressure in the lines, it can get a little difficult to install the fittings properly. And so once everything's all connected properly the way you want it, then you're going to hook up the seed monitor, which is electronic, and on the inside of the cab there's a seed monitor. This is all the hookup procedure as far as hooking up the planter. We could also hook up lights to the unit if we wanted, but since we're not driving a long distance, we're not going to hook the lights up. So here we are adjusting the hydraulic pressure, the hydraulic flow from the tractor. And you can see the needle move across. We're running anywhere from 8 to 12 inches of water. And we do that by adjusting on our valve how much hydraulic flow is going to go. Here's our seed chart, and it's based off of the sprockets on the drive wheels. I know it's kind of hard to see, but I'll upload some seed charts onto Canvas for you to see. But if we look here on the graph on the tractor, it tells us where our seed drive gears are. And so we're looking at the drive gear. And then there's the driven gear. And it's based off of how many teeth are on the sprocket. And so for this unit, you follow book settings as far as what it needs to be. Okay. And then you look at the actual teeth, the gears that are on the chains themselves. It's really easy to adjust. And so we're in low range. Okay, 35, 27. Okay. Little over 6 inches will give us almost 32,000 seeds per acre. So that's what our goal is for planting corn, is right around 32,000 seeds. So if we take the seed plate off, we can take a look on the inside and see what kind of seed is in there. Typically that seed should be cleaned out at the end. This is seed that was left over from last year. We make sure that the seed plate is correct. Clean out the old seed as needed. The one thing about the vacuum is it holds the seed to the plate. And so you can see up here in a second, I'll show you. After we clean out all the seed out of all the different hoppers, then we put new seed in. And we make sure it's the proper seed plate. And then as that thing rotates around, the seed sticks to the plate, and then it's knocked off and it goes down the seed tube. So biggest thing with the vacuum planter is make sure everything goes back together correctly and it's tight, and make sure you put the hose back on the unit. So as I put the hopper in place, we're ready to start calibrating this unit and checking for calibration. So the first thing we do is measure the circumference of our tire, okay? And that's going to help us get a distance as far as calibrating. Okay? Then you're going to mark the tire and you're going to spin it a certain amount of times. In this instance, I'm going to spin it 10 times. At the bottom of my hoppers or the seed tubes, I put a little cup, and then I spin my wheel 10 times, and that'll give me a distance traveled. And you can see some of the seeds fell out, so those all have to be accounted for. Okay. The other thing when you're calibrating is you got to make sure that the vacuum is on, because if it's not, it's going to give you an incorrect number. So when I did this calibration, there was 122 seeds over 10 spins, and that wheel is 87 inches. So it's 870 inches is the distance we traveled with 120 seeds. It gave us about a little over close to 6.5 inch spacing. So as you can see, we're driving over where we just strip tilled prior to. In the front of our planter unit, you'll notice that there's some tillage stuff on there. That's for our conservation type practices. And so there's some coulters and some sweeps up there, and it kind of helps as far as cleaning that soil before going through. And it works real nice. So the biggest thing is you want to check, because you have a couple things. You have the seed monitor that tells you if your seed's planting, but anytime you plant, you always want to double check and dig down and see if you can find the seed where you planted, and make sure it's the correct spacing. Okay? Sometimes it can be a little difficult to find the seed. It takes a little bit of time, because if you're starting in the middle in between two seeds, it can be a little bit of an issue. So if we look, we found 2 seeds in the ground, and they're a little over 6 inch spacing, which is proper. So operating the tractor, same thing. We're using the GPS. This is I hit the button, it locks us in place. And so as we drive through the field, it lines up, and you can see where the strip till went to where the planter is going now. The coulters are spinning, but sometimes those sweeps don't need to spin if there's not a whole lot of trash. And our soil didn't have a whole lot of trash in it, but we were able to really clean up. You can see the press wheels working real well as far as pressing the soil, affirming the soil around the seed. And so as you plant, you always want to pay attention to your planter and all the units, and then you also want to pay attention to the seed monitor that's on the inside of the tractor. And so the seed monitor will tell you whether or not a hopper or a seed a unit is planting properly. So that's planting. It's pretty simple. Hooking up everything, doing a quick calibration. If we were in class, we would actually be